A jury convicted Willie Lee Wimberly of 2 counts of assault with intent to commit murder, but acquitted him of an additional charge of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. The trial court sentenced the defendant as a second habitual to concurrent prison terms of 40 to 60 years for one of the convictions relating to victim Brendan Charles, and 25 to 37 and a half years for the conviction relating to victim Ceylon Dully. Defendant appeals his rights. We affirm, and that is something you never want to hear. We affirm. Defendant was convicted of aiding or abetting the shootings assaults of Brendan Charles and Ceylon Dully during the early morning hours of January 1st in an apparent road rage incident after Charles and Dully left the MGM Grand Casino in Detroit. Charles and Dully left the casino in a Range Rover driven by Charles, defendant, who had also been at the casino, was driving a Ford Expedition with 2 passengers, one of whom was Stephen Smith Rush. After an altercation between the drivers of the 2 vehicles while leaving the casino, the Expedition followed the Range Rover onto I-94 freeway, eventually pulled alongside the vehicle, and then multiple gunshots were fired from the Expedition to the Range Rover. Charles and Dudley were both struck by gunfire. Defendant and Rush were arrested later in January 2013, but Rush was initially charged only with an accessory after the fact. Charles was murdered the day before a joint preliminary examination for defendant Rush was to be held on January 30th, 2013. When the preliminary examination ultimately concluded in April 2013, the defendant was bound over for trial on 2 counts of assault with intent to commit murder and 1 count of felony firearm. The defendant court found insufficient credible evidence to add assault charges against Rush, but bound Rush over for trial on charges of accessory after the fact and giving a false statement to the police. Rush later entered a guilty plea to the latter charge. Defendant testified at trial and admitted driving the Expedition when his passengers fired gunshots into the Range Rover, but argued that he was merely present in the vehicle, was unaware that his passengers intended to fire gunshots into the Range Rover, and did nothing to aid or assist the passengers in shooting assault of the 2 victims. The prosecution presented evidence linking defendant to an attempt to bribe Charles if he did not testify at the preliminary examination, and linking him to Charles' murder the day before the scheduled preliminary examination. The jury convicted defendant of 2 counts of assault with intent to commit murder, but acquitted him of the felony firearm charge. Counsel of choice. Defendant first argues that his trial court violated the Sixth Amendment right to retain counsel of his choice when it denied his motions to adjourn the trial and permit him to retain substitute counsel for his choice. Defendant's motions were 3 days before trial was scheduled to begin, and on the first day of the trial, March 2014, we disagree with defendant's challenge. The theory of instant combined cases is that defendant was the orchestrator and initiator of a scheme to kill Charles to keep Charles from testifying in the Wayne County case. Defendant provided the murder weapon, even though he was not present during the murder himself. Specifically, defendant and Avantis arranged a meeting with Charles Stanley for the purpose of purchasing marijuana. Defendant provided Matthews with a burner gun to kill Charles, and Matthews and Terrence came along with Avantis. They were to wait and kill Charles until after Avantis had purchased the marijuana and the other person in Charles' car had left. Generally, defendant would eliminate persons against whom he sought retribution for perceived wrongs by enlisting the help of close friends or relatives to carry out the actual killings, by setting up seemingly innocent meetings or transactions with unsuspecting victims, and supply a weapon to confederate tasks with actual killing. Consistent with the theory and the testimony was omitted at both trials from Avantis regarding the Reeves murder. The Reeves murder occurred in 2011. It was carried out by Terrence. According to Avantis, Terrence told him that he did so at defendant's instigation in retaliation for Reeves previously shooting at Terrence's father and defendant, and for possibly killing defendant's brother. Defendant again provided the gun used. Matthews arranged a meeting with Reeves and Reeves' home for a supposed scam involving iPhones, and he provided a way for Terrence to enter Reeves' home. Terrence shot and killed Reeves while Matthews was present. Terrence and Matthews then returned the gun to the defendant. As stated, MRE 404 is a rule inclusion that provides a non-exhaustive list of examples of proper purposes. The distinction may be subtle, but the proponent of such evidence need not be established one of the proper purposes listed. This gonna be a hard one to get back on. But it's definitely possible, because in all that, you can't really find the exact evidence that he told him to go do that. You want the full story, you got to go to Mo Gotti. Link in the bio.
What up, though, Detroit? So, you already know the deal. Just giving a shout out to Petty Tupac TV. Like, comment, subscribe. You already know the deal. We have to support everybody's businesses, and you already know how it goes. We support each other. You know what I'm saying? Make Detroit win.